Back in the year 1988, when rehearsing a new song with my band, I stumbled upon a rhythmic pattern I thought was really good. And in order not to forget it, I grabbed my wallet and fished out of it an old movie admission ticket and wrote something like this on the back of it. No music sheet was needed and no sound recording device. That cinema ticket was all the gear I needed along with a pencil. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about in this video, don't worry. There are many videos already on YouTube teaching exactly how to read and write music. I recommend watching this guy. Many drummers struggle with reading drum scores, and that is not surprising. Our notation system is a little awkward. It was around long before the drum kit and was developed to notate melodies and harmony. When musicians started to create scores for the drum set, they had to find a workaround for this non-melodic, non-harmonic instrument. But instead of coming up with a special system, they just implemented what was already around, hence the awkwardness. They started with giving each instrument of the drum kit a placeholder on the staves for a certain musical note. The snare drum got the space between the middle line and the line above, well, usually. You see, not everybody did, and to this day there is no one unified system, and therefore there are millions of drummers getting confused every day when they are handed out a new score written by someone who thought the snare drum should be on the second line from the top, not below it. Can you see the problem here? When writing your own drum score, you don't have to do any of this. There is a better way, faster and more convenient. A long time ago I invented this notation system for the drum kit. Let's take a closer look. Instead of the 5 lines laid out on a regular music notation sheet, I choose to use only one. Therefore I don't even need music notation sheet when writing things down. And when using a whiteboard or a blackboard while teaching, I do not have to rely on these boards coming with these musical lines printed on them. My one line is the middle line of the conventional notation system. And since the snare drum most often occupies the space right above the middle line, it continues to do just that in my system. The kick drum usually owns the space between the 2 lowermost lines and is notated a bit under the line in this system. Next, the tom-toms. Often they are written on the lines of the music sheet, and therefore I do the same, but without having to draw the lines themselves, only a fraction of them right through the note itself. And since these notes are now marked with a strike-through, you will never confuse them with snare and kick drum notes. Same with the cymbals. The hi-hat, when struck with a stick, gets its usual X above the snare drum, and when played with the foot, it gets an X in the vicinity of the kick drum notes. Crash cymbals get a ring around the X, or a diamond shape if you want to distinguish between more than one, and the right cymbal gets a strike-through. A cross stick on the snare gets a diagonal strike-through that looks like a cross stick placed on the snare drum itself. An open hi-hat gets a little ring above it and a plus sign when it needs to close. And if you need a special sign for the right cymbal bell, you can invent it yourself. For example, you could draw it as a ring with a strike-through. How rests are placed in a conventional drum notation is a little bit of a mess. Some consider each instrument in the drum kit to be a unique voice and place rests all over the place when that instrument is not playing. This makes the score very hard to read. So let's drop the rests all together unless they are absolutely necessary. When it comes to stems, or the legs of the notes, we just place them up or down as we like. Some drummers have invented a rule we could call hands up, feet down. But I find ignoring that to be a better and more legible way. My main rule is to let the hi-hat and the cymbals be their own voice, because they are the pulse. And then group the conversation between kick and snare into another. We can call it pulse up, groove down. There are exceptions to this rule though. For example, when the snare drum plays extra notes on the second and fourth 16th note in a beat, it becomes more legible to tie them in with the cymbal's voice then. I am also a fan of empty stems, for example when not playing the middle note in a triplet or skipping a note or two in a cluster of 16ths. This makes the music score much more legible. Instead of this, this. And instead of this, this. So there you have it. If we take a look back at the pattern I went for in The Man on the Moon, you can see that this is the method that was implemented on the back of the movie ticket. Otherwise, it would have been gone, and the song would have sounded very different. Man on the Moon was the working title of a song that became Grænir Frostpinnar, which is Icelandic for green popsicles. What you're hearing is the released version of the song. The band was Svarthvítur Draumur, Icelandic for black and white dream. A killer band, if I can say so myself. Thanks for your time. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. There is a new content coming up every Friday. When subscribing, be sure to hit that bell button right beside, and you will be notified when new episodes are uploaded. Let's also discuss this topic in the comment section. I will read and respond to your input. Also, consider sharing this video with your colleagues and friends if you think this could benefit them. And be sure to check out my blog page on Facebook. The link is in the description. See you next time.